Hey everyone, in today's video we are talking all about nonfiction text features. Now I love teaching my students all about nonfiction, and students honestly love it too because it just kind of sparks and fills that natural curiosity that students have when learning about new things. In this video I'm just going to share 4 quick tips with some ideas and activities that you can do with your students when teaching nonfiction text features. If you've seen my videos before, then welcome back, and if you are new here, my name is Susan Jones. I'm a former first grade and K-2 literacy teacher who now spends a lot of time here on YouTube sharing tips, ideas, activities, and freebies for teachers just like you. All the videos I create are geared towards kindergarten, 1st, and 2nd grade students because that's where my expertise lies and that's where I do most of my research. So I hope you are ready to enjoy this video. If you are, give this video a like, subscribe to my channel, and let's get started. All right, tip number 1 when teaching your students about nonfiction text features is don't wait. What I mean by this is, I don't know about you, but I was guilty of, especially my first few years teaching, I was guilty of waiting for my nonfiction text unit to teach about these features explicitly. I would like straight up ignore all the features, even if I was reading a nonfiction book to my kids, and I wouldn't tell them about them even though we would see them all the time. Instead, in my head, I was like, oh no, we teach about that in March, it's fine. We'll go over this later and I'll just teach them about the topic. But realistically, if you are incorporating enough nonfiction in your classroom anyway with your read alouds, then you'll want to point out things like the table of contents and headings and captions and diagrams, labels, indexes, etc. All of those things that make nonfiction different from fiction. When doing this, you don't need to dive in on each individual feature and really have students master it. You can have that wait until, you do your unit, but it's doing a disservice to them to kind of just brush over it and ignore it and act like they're not there. This way, when you do your unit, students are familiar and they've seen those features and heard them before. So they've already been named and they might even know the purpose of them already. Gives them a little leg up, and why wouldn't you want to do that? All right, tip number 2 when teaching nonfiction text features is going to come when you actually start your unit. So when you're ready to explicitly teach these things to your kids. And I like to kick this off by having a student-led discussion, by having them look at some nonfiction pages and some fiction pages and just kind of observing and telling us what they see. So you don't have to do it this way, but I like to find a fiction book and a nonfiction book about the same topic. For example, I have Cats versus Dogs, a National Geographic one, and then I have a page like this. Let me make sure you can see that. And as you can see on this page, you really want to find something with some real photographs, some captions. They even have this heading here is in a different font and everything. There's just all sorts of, they have like a whole area over here that says pet words where they go over important vocabulary. And then of course, many of the National Geographic books have the Q&A. They have little jokes up top, which is fun. But I like to find something like this, and then I grab Dog versus Cat. This is a fiction book that I have. And for this, you can really open up to any page. Let me find one with some words on it. I guess you don't have to, but you could really open up to any page. And what I would do is I would display them both under a doc cam, or if you don't have a doc cam, or if you think this is a better option, you could put them out at different tables in your classroom, like make 4 or 5 different spots, and you could open them up. So in this case, you would actually have 8 different books. Each one, if you had like 4 different centers, each one would have a fiction and a nonfiction book, and it would just be an observation walk. So students could walk around to each one and they would be tasked to tell you, or tell their peers rather, what they see. What do they notice? What's different about the 2 books? Whether you do it as kind of a walking around the room activity or a whole group activity under the doc cam, it's going to be your job as the teacher to write down their thoughts, write down what they see. And while they're doing this, I like to write down their exact words. So even if they're describing a caption, I like to write down exactly what they said. They may have said, oh, there's some words here under the picture, under the photograph. So I write down exactly what they say, because later at the end of this kind of discussion, we will explicitly teach them and name what students saw. This student-led inquiry into this subject is just a fun way for you to, first of all, see what students already know, and for them to learn from one another before you've even had the opportunity to jump in and explicitly teach something. Also, if you've been teaching these different features all year long, like I mentioned in tip 1, then hopefully students will already have a little leg up on what some of these features are called. And if a student doesn't remember, then someone else in the group may remember and they can remind them. And then you can just go a step further in your teaching. You can be even deeper into the concept. Tip number 3 for teaching nonfiction text features is to have a scavenger hunt. Now, I wouldn't do this until you've already explicitly taught all of the features that you want to teach and, make a big anchor chart so students are able to name the feature, they're able to identify the feature so they know what it looks like, and always make sure you're teaching them how it helps us understand the text. That's the importance of these features. So for each one, you want to make sure students understand why authors use it. So once they've known those 3 things, or at least been introduced to it, have them do a scavenger hunt. Now for this, I would get a ton of nonfiction text so students can really get their hands on them, and I would spread them out around the room and have them go explore them. Now I try not to do this in a very controlled way, meaning I like students to be able to look at the books and go up to whatever one they want, again, giving them a little choice in what they want to read and learn about. And as they go through the text and as they read it, they are looking for those specific text features. Now, I was going to make you a freebie for this. In fact, I even started it, but then I was like, wait, there's a lot of other well-made freebies. Why am I going to reinvent the wheel? So 2 that I really like that are completely free on TPT, there's this one right here. I like this one by Abby Mills because it shows you a little picture of the specific text feature, and then students have to write down the book title and the page number where they found it. And then if there's anything else, like for instance, the definition of a word in the glossary, or what a caption said, they can write it down on that sheet. I also really love this one by The Whole Week Class. This is probably my favorite one. And again, I do enjoy this because it has a picture of each one. These I just find to be really appropriate for K through 2. And I think this freebie also has a little matching activity so students can decide which feature matches up with which definition. Those 2 are great for primary learners, so I will link both of them down in the description and you can see which one best fits your students' needs. And tip and activity number 4 for teaching nonfiction text features is to have students incorporate them in their writing. Now, my favorite project of all time to do with writing with my students is to create an all-about book. It is a great way to integrate reading and writing, especially in the nonfiction realm. So students will have to read a bunch of nonfiction books about a specific animal that they've chosen. They'll also look at websites. I've done videos about this. Here's a couple of them right here. And basically students will, after learning about this animal, they will write their own nonfiction book. Now throughout this process, they have to write a table of contents. They're making a diagram. They're adding labels. There's a fun little extension activity where they take caption bubbles and go paste them back into their book before it's published. I'll go ahead and link details about that project down in the description, but even if you don't do a full project like that, you can have students integrate all of these different features into their nonfiction writing. Labels, I feel like, are the easiest and most common one to get students to incorporate into their writing, but you should think about having them write some captions. Like I said, I do a little caption action activity, and I will have students actually go back into their text and see it's like another way to add more writing to our stories or to our work that we have written. And I just print them out on construction paper so they're colorful, and I put them in like a little bubble, and they will write down their caption and then they can glue it onto the page. A glossary is another fun one to add that I feel like we don't do that often. They don't need to know 10 different words to write down in their glossary, but if there are 2 or 3 different words that they think the reader of their text should know when learning about this topic, they can add a little glossary page and write down the words and a student-friendly definition. It's also a great little assessment to see if your students also know what those words mean. But basically, by having students actually write and create their own nonfiction text features, it takes their understanding of this topic to a whole nother level. So there were 4 of my favorite tips and ideas for teaching about nonfiction text features to kindergarten, 1st, and 2nd grade. I would love to know if you have any other fun and effective ideas. Drop them down in the comments so we can take a look. As As always, I hope you enjoyed this video. If so, please give it a thumbs up so I know. Make sure you are subscribed to my channel and click that bell. That way you're notified of all my new videos, which right now I am coming out with videos on Thursday and Sunday mornings, so I will see you in the next one. Bye.